What is up again, everybody? It is everybody's favorite golf daddy, Tin Total Death. And if you're watching this and you just finished watching the other video where I talked about my emo phase from high school, you're probably sitting here wondering, you're like, hold on, you're in the same outfit from the last video. Wait, what? Did you even change your clothes in between videos? And to answer that question, no, this is actually all recorded in the same day. Like I said in the last video, we just got done doing a live stream earlier on. So, anyways, without further ado, I am going to tell you guys the story about my second emo phase, but as an adult. Which, a lot of people are like, hold on a minute. That is weird, that is sus, that is ditty as hell. Because, most of the time when you think about emo phases and all that stuff, you mostly associate that with teenagers. Because, the whole emo phase, emo fashion stuff, it's mostly popular with the kids and teenagers, right? So you're probably like, who in the fuck, unless you're on some Diddy pedophile shit, would go through an emo phase as an adult? And we're here to talk about that today. So I'll give some context before we get into it. If you watched the last video, then you probably don't need no context. But if you haven't watched the video that talked about the first phase, then you're going to need this context. So, in a nutshell, was emo in high school, got bullied out of it. And, pretty much, like I said in the last video, I realized all these years that I was insecure as fuck, and I decided to conform. Well, when I got bullied out of it, I decided to conform to the norm, and then I became the bully of my friends and all that shit, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, whatever. Anyways, into the main story today. So, it was the year 2022. September 30th, I decided to break up with my ex-fiance at the time. I think it was September 30th or 31st. It was the last day of September from what I remember. Whatever the last day of September is, And, it wasn't that longer later that they moved out of my trailer. It wasn't even a full month later that they moved out of my trailer. I think it was 2 weeks later they were out of my trailer. Which, at the time, little old me, I was like, oh yeah, I can move on from this shit quick, Because not only did I break up with her, but I immediately started dating. Immediately, I know. Tinkle Death, you fucking monster! Yeah. We've talked about this story a million times. We've talked about this story a million times, but now we're going to have a video talking about it. So, break up with her. Anyways, when they moved out, right, remember what I said. As soon as I broke up with them, I immediately started dating again, right? Which, horrible. Because in my head, I was like, oh yeah, I've already emotionally moved on from them, or at least I thought I emotionally moved on from them. And then things started to hit me. I started to miss them. I started to wake up by myself, alone. And I would try to date girls at the time, but, it just felt so weird at the time. This is someone I was with for, 2.5 years, and now they're just not next to me anymore. And it was such a strange feeling. And, started having crazy mood swings. I started really missing them. I started having, crazy fits of anger. And then, at the time, my ex-fiance, they started immediately dating not too longer later after we broke up, too. And it was so weird because at the time I felt like I was entitled to them, but I know I'm not entitled to them, right? Once you break up with someone, hey man, you're free to date whoever the fuck you want, right? But at the time I felt like I was entitled to them. And so that only made me more angry. So whenever I found out they were dating other people, your boy was like, this is bullshit, they don't actually care about me. But like I said, mentally I thought I moved on from them. Emotionally, I thought I moved on from them. But the fact of the matter is, I did not actually mentally or emotionally move on from them. And so, random fits of anger, random suicidal thoughts would pop up. And it was just constant mood swings. And I remember at that time, I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, maybe working out will get these emotions to go away. Maybe if I work out and get all muscled up and start working on my body again, maybe it'll cause these emotions and mood swings, and me starting to miss my ex-fiance at the time. Maybe it would cause those emotions to go away or ease up. But what I found out is even when I started working out and shit and, focusing on my body, Even though this physically looked good at the time. Mentally up here, it was just getting worse. I was feeling more depressed than ever. I was feeling, those suicidal thoughts were really cranking up. Those anger bursts were fucking crazy. They were going up. And I remember when I was working out, I would work out literally angry. Like, I felt angry while I fucking worked out, right? And I remember at the time I started listening to alternative rock and alternative metal again, which it had been a while since I listened to metal and alternative rock again. So I started to listen to Korn. And I know I listened to Korn years earlier, but I didn't really listen to them that much. I never really listened to them besides like a few songs. So I started listening to Korn, and the rage that Korn has, and in songs like Blind, Clown, the F Slur song, all those songs, all that rage Korn has, it just clicked in my head when I was working out and I was listening to Clown and Blind, right? Or just listening to Korn. The rage, that Korn songs have and express, it just clicked in my head. Because at the same time, like I said, I was having those mood swings. I was feeling angry. And, it was just easy for me to relate to. And so then I was like, damn, I'm fucking with Korn. Fucking Korn, Korn, right? Whatever. So I started getting deeper into bands like Korn, came across Slipknot. And then when I came across Rage Against the Machine, right? When I heard, Song Freedom, all those different songs by Rage Against the Machine, on top of listening to Korn, all the rage and anger they presented in their songs perfectly matched up with how I was feeling at the time. Angry, betrayed, frustrated. And at the same time, I was also suicidal, right? And kind of depressed at the same time, too. And so I started re-listening to My Chemical Romance, and I hadn't really listened to them much since like my teenager years up to that point. And so when I started listening to My Chemical Romance, just like what happened when I started re-listening to Korn, it just clicked. And that's when, just like immediately, it wasn't even less than a full week later, I was like, holy shit, man. I'm like, it literally wasn't even less than like a full week later after re-listening to MCR again. I was just like deep in my fucking emotions and shit, and I was like, fuck the world. Life is depressing. All types of fucking, just melodramatic shit. And so it wasn't even less than a week later that, I started buying eyeliner and started doing the emo makeup look and all that shit. And I started looking at Google Images and all that shit. And also because, I like the look that Gerard Way presented. And I think it was like less than 2 weeks after that, I started dyeing my hair black. And so it was fucking crazy because how I was feeling at the time, sad, depressed, angry, betrayed. And then just listening to Korn and MCR at the time, it felt like there was an artist out there that was able to relate to me. And so I immediately, like I'm telling you, Hot Topic hauls, getting the skeleton gloves, all that shit. It wasn't even, it was so quick. Like, I think it was like by November. It was either by like, November I had spiked collars, the makeup, all of that shit by November. And remember what I said, it was the last day of December that we broke up. So it wasn't even less than a full month later, right? And it's so crazy to think about. Because when I look back, I'm like, damn, man, I remember just being so frustrated and angry at the time. Right? And now I'm just like, now I understand. I understand why I was frustrated. I understand why I was angry, I shot myself in the foot there. But, when I started listening to Korn and MCR and all the emo bands and shit at that time, right? Like I said, it was something I could relate to. So I started getting deep into emo culture, into the emo fashion and all that shit. And it was so weird because, like I said earlier on in this video, and like I said in the last video, is, I quit being emo because of the bullying. But here I am, dressing all emo again and everything. And I was just sitting there and I was thinking to myself, I think at the time I was 23. I was like, damn, here I am, 23 years old, being the emo that I wanted to be in fucking high school. And it was good. It was glorious because, in high school I wanted to be I wanted to go fully on through that emo phase, but I couldn't fully go on through that emo phase because I got bullied out of it, and insecure me at the time didn't know how to deal with the bullying and all that shit. Whereas now I'm like, okay, man, whatever shit you have to say about me, I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna quit being myself now. But it was just beautiful. It was just beautiful. So, I got deep into the culture. I found out about, Midwest emo, history of emo, or started out as emo core, emotional hardcore rock, if you want to call it that. Started painting my nails black. I think my nails are partly red on here. And it was just such a good time. And then I even, discovered goth music, The Cure, Susie and the Banshees, all of them. And it was just such a good time because now I was over here. I was getting to live the alternative dream that I never really got to live as a teenager because of that bullying. But when I got to go through it again as an adult, I had, like I said in the last video, it was a moment of self-discovery where I was able to realize this is who I've always been. This is the, this weirdo freak like person I've always been. It's just, I was just so insecure, I didn't know how to deal with the bullying and stuff that I just decided to conform to the norm, because when I conformed to the norm back in high school, people were treating me like human. And so in my head, I'm thinking, hey man, I'm like, goth, emo, all that shit must be fucking bad. That shit must be of the devil. But the fact of the matter is, I was just jealous that people could be emo and people could be goth and they could take the criticism, whereas I could never take the criticism. So I was always jealous of those people. So once I went through that self-discovery, as an adult at 23 years old, I was like, fuck it, man. Anyone wants to say some shit about me now, fuck it, man. I ain't gonna let them stop me from being who I want to be, from me expressing who I want to be. And that's how it was, And so here we are. It's like I'm 25 now, but I was 23 at the time when I went through my second emo phase. And, these days I'm more so goth, but I still listen to fucking pop punk and emo music, of course. I'll always listen to that shit. And, it's so beautiful because here we are 2 years later, and, I still get to be me. I still get to express myself. I've got a lot of weird looks, a lot of disgusting comments, if you must say. I've had a lot of things said about me, but all of those things people have said about me the last 2 years, it still has not stopped me from being who I want to be, because now I'm more comfortable in my skin. But when here's how the emo phase came to an end, and eventually I just became alternative / goth, right? You can't stay sad forever, and like in the Crow movie, it can't rain all the time. And I think it was like probably around the summertime it was like somewhere between the summer to December of 2022. No, December of 2023, where, all of those emotions, all of that anger, the suicidal thoughts, the frustration, the mood swings, all of it just calmed down. And so, like, I didn't really feel like I was emo anymore, like I still like the fashion and stuff. It's just I didn't really feel, the anger or the rage in this, in the songs that I'd been listening to during my second adult emo phase. Songs from the Used, all of them, right? I just wasn't feeling that anger or rage or sadness anymore. I was still feeling the MCR songs though, because the MCR songs are fucking great. And so I think it was like right around, probably like right around December of 2023. That was really when right around that time is really when I started to move away from the whole emo thing, or more so dressing emo, and I started to change my wardrobe. And now these days, my wardrobe is a lot different now than it was then. But that's pretty much the end of my emo phase, because I knew at some point, even back when I was at the end of the beginning of that second emo phase, I knew that at some point it was going to come to an end. And when those frustrations, that anger, the sadness, everything just calmed down, that was when I was like, yeah, this is the end. This is the end. So, I just wasn't really feeling it anymore, right? But I'm still me. I'm still going to dress alternative and stuff. It's just, I'm not going to say that I'm emo or stuff like that. But that was, pretty much my second emo phase as an adult, Did you go through an emo phase as an adult? Because I know it's it's very weird when you consider the fact that most people go through emo phases as a teenager. So if you did, comment below. Let me hear your stories. You know, any story you got about you being emo, or you used to be emo or anything, just comment below. Let me know. Until next time, peace.